This is going to be great going to the bathroom right after. It gets you in that position, you know. It shows well on the camera. It kind of looks
It's like the squatty potty.
Yes. Oh, God. Did you ever do a knockoff of the squatty potty?
No.
It's a great name, squatty potty. They sold, I don't know what they sold. I'm going to make up shit. I shouldn't make it up. You would know better. I can't get away with that.
So you know the toilets in India, until recently, they're in the ground. So when you go to the bathroom, you're like this.
No, but in a house?
Yeah, in the houses.
No way.
Yeah.
Level with the ground?
Level with the ground. In China also.
Well, then you must have great thighs, everybody, to hold yourself up.
I was born here, Barbara.
Today I have with me the uber successful founder and CEO behind IdeaVillage. You know it, the company that brings products to market under the name of As Seen on TV banner. Every day you see it on TV. Stay up late, you're bound to see one of Andy Khubani's ads. Today, IdeaVillage has one of the largest retail distribution networks in the entire country. They sell over 77,000. That's 77,000 mass retail outlets. That's a lot of places to be selling this product. Today, I have with me the founder and CEO, Andy Khubani. His expert marketing skills have gotten his products to the top of their respective categories, like the Finishing Touch women's hair removal tool or the popular HD Vision eyeglasses. He's one of my closest friends, and to me, that's the most important reason I have him here today, because he's the smartest damn guy I've ever spoken to. He's also my ski buddy. We ski once a week. Pardon me. He's also my ski buddy. He's not as good as I am, but he's right behind me, and I'm pleased to see that he's improving. But let's hear how Andy's superstar traits help him build the greatest business. Pardon me. Let's hear how Andy's superstar traits helped him build the great business he runs today. And I want to start with, Andy, if you don't mind, what I think your single most amazing trait is, that I'm always amazed, re-amazed if there's such a word, again and again, which is you are the best salesman I've ever met in my life. Would you agree with that premise? Come on. The best salesman I've ever met in my life, and I'm from the sales business.
That's what I'm told.
And the best laugh in the business too, if I might add that quickly.
Yeah, you never realize. I don't know if a great singer realizes they're a great singer or a great salesman recognizes that. I always thought I was good, but a lot of people tell me I'm great, so I'll accept that.
No, come on. Don't you think you built your entire business on the back of great salesmanship?
About building relationships, and even what makes a great salesman is always having good intentions for the other person. So my dad always taught me, when you go and meet with a buyer or a retailer, always go prepared to what you can do for them. And every product I ever brought to market, we had data showing that it was a huge success before I ever brought it to retail.
Because your feeling was you're not going to introduce it unless you were sure they can make a lot of money with it?
Yeah, because every retail buyer has goals and objectives that they have to meet. So they have to drive a certain amount of sales with a certain amount of margin. And I always brought that to them. I always gave them a product that was already a proven success on TV, that I knew, based on our metrics, would be a huge success at retail, and I gave them the margin they needed. So they made their numbers, and I made my numbers.
So it's a game of everybody winning, but you're putting the customer first. It sounds trivial. I mean, everybody says put the customer first. But you don't believe, or do you believe most salespeople do that?
I think most salespeople go to try and sell whatever they're selling with what's in it for them. But you have to look at it, what's in it for the consumer. And you can go back to the greatest business successes of all time. Look at Sam Walton. It was always about serving the customer, right? Everyday low prices, a friendly shopping experience, and a clean store environment. There's a common sense 101. You know, if you look at Costco, Jim Sinegal, same thing. Look at Apple. They serve the greatest successes are the companies that serve the people the best.
When you say people, do you think it extends also to your employees? If you're building a business, do you have to serve the employee, or their job is to serve the customer too?
I think their job is to serve the customer. Your job is to take care of your employees. And I try and do that by, having, when we hire, we have what I call a no bad guy policy.
What's that mean?
Basically, we hire nice people that know how to be nice to other people. And if we get a bad apple, we weed them out. And actually, I don't even weed them out. The culture weeds them out.
What do you mean? Your whole team gets together and say, it's over here today for you, honey, get out of here?
Somehow the culture extracts the bad apples. I don't know how it works, but it just works that way. If somebody's not a team player, if they're not kind and courteous, the strong group of people we have, and we have 38 women and 6 men that work in the office, and the women, it's like a family. And if there's just a bad apple, they get extracted. In 6 months they'll be out.
Yeah. And do you fire them?
They end up leaving.
They just leave on their own. They know they don't fit in.
They don't fit in, they don't have the same work ethic, they don't have the same value system, and they just ultimately don't feel comfortable there, and they end up leaving.
Give us your short story of how you got started. I've heard it, but I'd like to share it with everybody.
So, the early days after I graduated NYU, I was actually looking to start a business, and
Right away out of school.
right away out of school.
Why not get a job? Why not get some experience under your belt and learn something before you start off on your own?
Well, I worked through college. I worked for a family car dealership. My dad owned a Dodge dealership where I was initially a salesman, and then and I used to work over the summers, and then I was a sales manager for my last 2 summers there. And when I was there, very, very successful in that limited time period.
And even then, Andy, if I could interrupt, even then you didn't say, hey, I'm in college, I'm selling summers, and I'm a successful salesperson. You didn't realize I could sell anything.
That's funny. The first time I took the job as selling cars, I was 17. And my dad spoke to the other salesman at the dealership, and he said my son would like to sell cars. I had approached him on it. And the other salesman said, but Mr. Khubani, if you let your son sell cars, we may have a really, a valid customer that because he handles it, we'll lose that customer. So, so my father came back to me and they said, well, what if it doesn't work out? Like, what do I do if you don't succeed at it? I said, if I don't succeed, fire me. And I said, but what if I'm your #1 salesman my first month? I said, what will you do for me? He said, I'll give you any car you want.
You're kidding. What a dad.
So.
I guess you drove out with your new car?
So.
Please tell me that's the end of the story.
So my first month, I sold 22 cars.
Wow.
And which made me the #1 salesman in the company. They had 8 salesmen, and the dealer sold about like 80 cars a month.
Wow.
So I sold 25% of the cars my first month, and I got the car of my choice. At that time, the best car Dodge made was the Dodge Daytona. So anyway, so I got my Dodge Daytona. At 17, that was really cool.
You couldn't have gotten a job immediately at a Mercedes dealership?
I wish we owned a Mercedes dealership.
So then you worked through college at that car dealership, and then you started your own business the moment you graduated from college.
Well, I was exploring different businesses to start, and I ended up using a desk at my brother's office, who had a company called U.S. Buyers Network. And U.S. Buyers Network sold products directly to consumer through print, mail order, and TV. And my brother...
It's related. Similar business, yeah.
Yeah. So my brother was walking past my desk on day 2, and he said, while you're trying to figure out what you're doing, why don't you see if you can sell these products that I'm selling direct to consumer, see if you can sell them to retail stores. So he had other sales reps working on it, but they were not successful.
And at that time, bring me back to that time period, did retail stores sell product that was sold on TV? Or was this two separate categories?
2 separate categories. It was like anytime you saw something on TV, they would always end the commercial with not available in retail stores anywhere. So it was a complete turn of that. And what happened was, on my I think it was my second phone call I made, and the other sales reps had taken all the better accounts. But on my second phone call, I called a hardware chain in Ohio called Home Centers, and I sold them $20,000 of merchandise, a product called the Whisper 2000, which was like a 1999 hearing aid, like an inexpensive hearing aid. And so I sold $20,000. The commission rate for sales reps was 5%. I made $1,000 on my second phone call.
Wow.
I said, this is a great business. I don't need to do anything else. I'm going to focus on this.
This is your older brother, right? You have a few brothers. How many do you have?
Yeah, this is my brother AJ. He's 7 years older than me.
And was he thrilled and promoted you in that job right away?
Well, so that was my second phone call. So then, my first year, to just fast forward, I did about $5 million of revenue from startup, from nothing, and it wasn't even a full year. And you know, I was promoted to vice president of sales, and from there I went out and built a sales rep network of 90 sales reps. I put in
Again for your brother AJ.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that marriage is going to come to an end soon in the story, right?
Yeah, so you know, that was a great part of my career. I was with his company for 9 years. We had built, on the wholesale side, I built about $150 million wholesale business. We had created a category at retail called As Seen on TV.
And was that the first time that expression was ever used? Now it seems commonplace. I see on TV, I see on TV. That's your brand, but at the time, were people using that as a sales point? Because you had said earlier that was counterintuitive.
You know, we didn't invent it, but we really created the department at retail for these As Seen on TV
Like
products.
certain aisles where that product could be shown.
Yeah, because back then, there was no internet, there was no online reviews. People were skeptical about calling over the phone and giving their credit card to an unknown source. So 90% of consumers who saw and wanted to buy the product on TV never went through with the purchase, because they would only buy it if they could walk into a brick and mortar store that they trusted, see and touch the product, and be able to return it if they weren't happy. So this business exploded. So even though our business grew over the next 5 years to about $150 million wholesale business, we created a multi-billion-dollar category at retail, which became known as Seen on TV, and was in thousands, you know, tens of thousands of stores.
You left your brother AJ and started your own business in short order. What was his reaction?
So at that time, it was 1999. I think at that point, we both had 9 years together. He was comfortable with the work I did while I was with him. He was comfortable on his path forward. And I knew that it was time to just, for my next chapter.
So you just figured, I want to do it on my own. Couldn't you have done more together as brothers and partners?
You know, if families or brothers or siblings working together always has complications because we both have wives. So,
of course, my gosh. I should have been able to figure that out on my own.
So, you know, we have our own respective families, and, you know, we left on very good terms. I wished him well, he wished me well, and, you know, I really saw things changing in terms of by 1995, I was in 900 retail chains. By the end of the 90s, you had 3 mass merchants left. That was Walmart, Kmart, and Target. And you had like 3 drug chains left. You had Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid. You had a few more, but those were the primary. And so you had the mass market had consolidated so much, and innovation, which typically doesn't come from big companies, as you know, right?
Of course.
It comes from the small entrepreneur, and the small entrepreneur didn't have the resources or relationships to get into the mass market. So I saw this disconnect between innovation and the mass market. And I saw IdeaVillage as a way to bridge that gap. And so we used the internet. You know, the internet emerged. Actually, I hired the same consulting group that was working for Jeff Bezos when he launched Amazon. He was a couple years ahead of me. But really trying to figure out the best, using IdeaVillage as a portal, really, for the innovation that we can vet, we can test market, and then launch to the mass market, you know, for these smaller guys.
Andy, what do you think? Do you think, I know recently you sold a chunk of your business to a very large company for a heck of a lot of money, which makes you truly my richest friend, and I'm happy to know you even more than ever, okay? But what do you think about the position of a tiny entrepreneur hustling against the big guys? It seems like a world where the big guys are bigger and the little guy has more of a stretch to run. What do you think about the capacity of the little guy to compete?
I think the capacity of today more than ever, the small guy has a huge advantage.
A huge advantage.
Huge
but
advantage.
Why? With people being so large, butting their heads up against it.
Because big companies become bureaucratic, and it's very hard for them to get things done in a timely fashion. They're not nimble. And speed to market today is the most important thing. Because the way information is disseminated, it just, the minute something's hot, it goes through the, whether social media or digital media, it just, the information's out there very quickly today. Small guy can take advantage of that. We see an opportunity, even though we're not a small guy, but we're quite quick and resourceful. We're kind of in the middle of the big corporation and the small entrepreneur. So what we'll do is we see something in social, we can quickly source that or design, develop our own variation of that, source it, be in the market within probably 4 to 6 months, which is extremely fast. If it's a large corporation, it would be 2 years or 3 years, and they would miss the market. And if it's a small entrepreneur, they may not have the resources to do it. But if they do have the resources, which you can source through places like Alibaba today, so they can quickly source. If they're resourceful and quick, they can get on Amazon very quickly as well.
So to a young entrepreneur who's starting out first few years of business, who's struggling against large competitors in their space, you would say hogwash, it doesn't make a difference, you have the advantage? Could you really persuade someone to think that way because you really believe it?
Yeah, I think you focus on your advantage. I mean, of course, you don't have the financial wherewithal of a big corporation or the amount of employees, but I think being nimble and quick, if you just have some good common sense and you know where to look and you're willing to work hard and hustle, you'll be able to move the ball much quicker than a large corporation.
I even remember distinctly a point when growing my own real estate business where I remember feeling like I had a visualization. If I had an idea on a Monday, I felt like I'd get out on the street by Friday. I felt like I was in a speedboat. Let's everybody make a left-hand turn. The whole company turned left with me immediately that next morning. But I remember as we got layers of people and more employees, I remember feeling like I was in a great big battleship, like, okay, we're going to hang a left 5 miles out. And then you have to bring that big ass of the boat all around with you, and a few people don't want to come and everything else. I remember feeling the enormous frustration of running a bigger business versus a smaller business and missing the good old days when I could have an idea and get it, boom, out there. But how do you keep that going in a company? Maybe I didn't navigate those waters as well as I should.
Well, I've intentionally kept our team small. And, we've limited, I guess, the size of what we could potentially grow to revenue-wise. But I think that's kept us highly successful. I like to say we have the resources of a large corporation, but the nimbleness of an entrepreneur.
And if you were 4 times the size of employees, you didn't think that would be possible, that you could move that way?
Yeah, ultimately would crash and burn. So
the large competitors that are doing that.
Lots of them do that because, why... The question you have to ask yourself is, why are you doing this? Like, why do you want to grow? Why do you want to be $1 billion? Who cares? Right? You got to first say, I'm in business to serve the customer. And what's the best way for me to do that? The best way for us to do that was to stay small.
Yes.
So we right-sized our company, and I never looked to really grow too much beyond that.
Andy, I have a question for you based on the constant question I'm asked: how do you network? How do you get to who you want? How do you make friends with people? I have never in my life met anyone who's a better networker than you. I'm not blowing smoke, of course, where. I'm not doing that, but I'm saying to you that I've never seen anyone make instant friendships through business and personally more readily than you do, and actually keep the friendships and nurture them and have such a full life of people all around you loving you to death. What happens that enables you to do that? What's on your mind? Is that a plan you have for your life? How do you get your work and your life so rich with friendships?
But you have to, the difference between family and friends, you can pick your friends. You can't pick your family, right?
You seem to pick quite a few. I'm beginning to think everyone's welcome.
No, I'm very selective. If you
hundreds of selective people. No, dozens, I would say dozens of good, close friends that you've selected that now are all friends with each other to one degree or another. But what is it about you that makes that happen? What's that about? I've never met anyone who could even partially measure up.
I think you have to invest in the relationship and, take a genuine interest in other people.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in other people and you care about other people, people's favorite subject is to talk about themselves. So if you want to make friends with somebody, ask them questions about themselves and about things they're interested in.
And that's your key to networking, beginning a friendship.
Yeah, I usually make friends with people I have an interest in. So it's easy to become friends if you have a genuine interest, and you then learn more about them. They love to talk about themselves, and then this creates this symbiotic relationship, and then you get together for dinner, and then you go on a ski trip together.
Many.
Yeah, many. I mean, invest in the relationship, and then you keep it small. You can't be friends with everybody. You can't be good friends with everybody. You have to pick like this group of people that you have the time to invest into that relationship, and over time, it takes, as you know, it takes years and years and years before you really get close. But over, 5 years, 10 years or so, well, we're really strong with. You're like my family now.
I feel like I'm related to you. Absolutely. I think we all do. I think we all have that in common. Do you do the same thing in your business relationships? Do you have a whole separate network of business people that you lean on and that you help each other? Because I wouldn't be privy to that. I'm on the friendship side.
Yeah, that's how I did it. I found a way to basically be in the places where the retailers were going to be. And I spent a lot of effort and time.
That was by design. You just said, I'm going to be in their faces where they hang out, I'm going to hang out. Sketch that out a little bit for me, because that is something that so many young entrepreneurs just don't get or don't even think about.
Well, the trade, in the retail industry, there's the retail trade press. And they have cocktail receptions, and they have events, and they honor certain retailers. And I was at every single one of them. And then they would do special events like a Walgreens headquarters, or they'd go at a new store opening for Kmart or Target. And you go there, you meet the senior leadership, you start to become friends with them.
What a pain in the ass, and what a great commitment of time to get on a plane, fly all over the place, go to yet another cocktail party. Did you know that was going to pay off for you big time and give you access to every big retailer in the nation? Or at the time where you're thinking, I really want to meet these people, I'll make them my friend, I guess. It took a tremendous amount of effort on your part, I'm sure.
I lived on a plane for the first several years of being in business. I lived on the plane. I was always in front of the retailer. And every time you have an opportunity to be in front of the retailer, take it, right? Or your customer.
So you didn't even think about it. You just thought, that's what I do, period.
That's what I did. Like, if I was on a phone call, and also I read a book on, when I first started, shortly after, I read a book on selling over the phone.
What book is that? I think I want to broadcast that.
So it was 30 years ago. But it said, and I wasn't a good student or reader. I read the first 2 pages. I got what I needed. And on page 2 it said, never try and close a deal over the phone, just try and get a meeting. And that's what I learned.
Great advice, actually.
And I just would get a meeting, and I don't care, people would say, you got to fly over Saturday to get the lower rate. It was $1,000, $2,000, whatever it cost to go visit the customer. I just get on a plane and go. I didn't worry about the cost, etc. It's time to grow and drive and just get in front of the customer as much as possible.
Is there a single retailer out there at the top that you don't know on a first-name basis today?
No, I know everybody. From the buyer level to the CEO level. And the thing is, the CEO wasn't the CEO when I met him. He was a buyer.
So you kind of grew up with them.
I grew up with all the retail guys, and I always delivered. So it was always referral. A lot of my retailers that ended up selling was because I was referred by another retailer that wasn't a direct competitor at the time.
How did that change once you started having children, once you started having your family, your lovely wife? What happened then? Were you still on a plane constantly?
When I started IdeaVillage, I had to start all over again. So yeah, I was traveling quite a bit, both domestically, and then, if you have a new hot product, you got to get over to China to work on building and developing the product. You do what it takes. There is no...
Well, your family also has to do what it takes, right?
Yeah, so I had a great life partner, and through, some helping her understand, or kind of what it takes. And she was very supportive. My wife was very supportive. But, also, it took some of her understanding. She came from a doctor's family, highly educated. The business entrepreneur family is a little bit different, So she had to learn how to, we have 5 children. But she understood, was very supportive, and, And, as Jack Welch said, there is no work-life balance. If you want to be successful, yeah, absolutely. But in light of recent events, I think she's happy she did.
Oh, yeah, she's crazy about you. Your kids are crazy about you. She's crazy about you. I'm looking for a crack in this wall, I want you to know.
And I'm crazy about them.
What about your path along the way? Was there anything that seemed like the worst disaster ever that turned into an opportunity later? I have a philosophy that very often on the flip side of a disaster, building a business, you find your best opportunity. What about you?
All the time.
All the time.
You
Give
know
me an
why?
example.
Okay.
Why does it happen? And give me an example if you don't mind. Yeah.
The reason I was working on starting my own company is because I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get hired. So,
okay.
So I did interview on Wall Street, for some of the big firms, and I wasn't hireable. I think they saw, based on my background, family business or whatever, I didn't have the highest GPA, but they saw that I wasn't a candidate compared to some of the other guys they had, and so because I couldn't really get a job that I wanted, it forced me to start my own business. So that's the first thing.
Have you ever looked back at that and wondered, I wonder what I've done on Wall Street, I wonder who I'd be today, or are you totally content with going your own way?
I'm very happy with the way it turned out.
And if you had gone there, do you think you'd be a happy man? Could you possibly be happy working for a large corporation?
I don't think so.
And why not?
I like the freedom of being an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to kind of the type of person that likes to do what I want to do and focus on that. I do really well when I work on things that I enjoy, but I'm forced to work on something I don't do as well.
Well, don't you think everybody's that way? They excel at what they enjoy doing?
Yeah, that's why you should always find work that you enjoy, but I don't think I would have enjoyed the work in a large corporation.
I can't picture that at all. They would all hate you. Even the guys at the car dealership, when you had instant success in sales, I would have hated your guts. Salespeople don't like that when a new kid on the block comes in and outshines them.
I was probably too naive at the time to try and notice that.
Maybe we're too busy to even notice it, selling the next car, right?
Yeah, but I'm sure that was somewhat true.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. May I ask you, have you ever felt overwhelmed? It strikes me every time I've met you over the years, talked to you about business, your personal life, it always seems like you have a finger on it, that you're, I can't imagine you overwhelmed and stressed. Do you hide it well, or you just don't go there? And what's your secret if you don't go there? Because everybody wants to be that.
I think you have to know that everything is happening for the best. I believe God is in control. And whatever happens is going to ultimately be for the best. Even if it's short-term pain, it'll be long-term gain. And I've seen it over and over again throughout my life. I've always seen a negative turn into a positive.
And give me an example of one that may have surprised you a bit, even if you were expecting it.
So, back in 2003, I launched the product called the Finishing Touch. Which was a lady's pen-shaped hair trimmer, and followed up with MicroTouch, which is a pen-shaped men's hair trimmer, and very successful for the first couple of years. And we then went out to try and sell the business. And
as a portion of your general business, just
right.
that product, the business around that product.
We were trying to sell those brands. And I met with a number of the large companies, really didn't have any serious interest from anybody, and so we kept them, and we continued to sell them over the next several years. We made a profit by all the business we did, and then I kept trying to reinvent the Finishing Touch, and lo and behold, 14 years later, I came up with the idea for Flawless. And
So I think I missed a beat there. So the business that you had didn't do well, right?
It did well
To
for
sell,
the first
and then-
couple of years, but
yeah.
it didn't get any interest from any of the large companies to buy
So you
it.
still thought that as a rejection, and why couldn't I sell the darn thing?
Right. So, and then we focused on our other businesses too. We were launching at the time. We would constantly be coming up. We would be looking at 3,000 products a year. It'd be like hard testing about 60, 70 new products a year and launching, 7 to 10 of those a year. So that was the model, right? And we would basically be looking for the next big thing that could blow up. But at the same time, I continued to invest in a very small percentage of those that I thought had long-term potential to become a brand. And Finishing Touch was one of them.
And that's been your biggest hit to date.
Yes, that was the most successful program to
And
date.
you were able to sell that in this last year. Do you mind if I share with people? I know it's public record. What did you sell that for?
Yeah, so we sold it for a potential of 900 million. So that's the reason I say potential is because there was a percentage up front, and about 45% of that is in what's called an earnout.
Oh, so you only have 400,000 or so, 400 million in the bank. That's it. Andy, I'm going to lend you some cash.
So
I'm going to marry my kids to your kids. Is what I'm going to do.
So there's our earnout provision. So with the potential is 900, but it's really.
Hey, don't write off the first 5. It sounds like a big number to me. Anything with a million after it, especially if it's got double zeros, I'd be bragging like crazy to all my relatives.
But we're working hard, and that's the other thing. You asked me, how do you, I always feel that things are never as bad as they seem, and things are never as good as they seem.
Mm-hmm.
And things may seem horrible today, and then tomorrow or next week, things change and it's not so bad.
If you stay in the game.
If you stay in the game, and then you think things are phenomenal. Things are phenomenal, everything's going perfect, and then something happens and knocks you a little bit off your horse. So I try and just keep an even keel view of the world, and I don't get too excited when things are great, and I don't get too upset when things are bad, because I know it's going to change.
I have never known you had a bad day. Have you ever had a bad day?
Yeah, of course. We all have bad days.
Yeah, but I've never seen you show it. What do you do for yourself when you think, crap, this is a bad day, this is a bad week, this is a bad bottom line? What do you do to lift yourself up? Because I think you have this tremendous resilient mindset.
I think you have to, what I do in business when things are tough, I just start to write down, I write at the top of the page, what are 5 things I could do today to drive sales? Because sales solve all problems in business. If you can drive more sales, that usually takes care of a lot of stuff. So I always look at what are the things. There's always opportunity that, you get so busy in your day-to-day grind that you miss certain opportunity. So I start to focus on what can I do to drive sales, because I know that'll make me feel better. Because you can sell your way out of anything, right? So I focus on that. I listen to good, positive food for the mind, inspirational videos on YouTube, or I like a speaker called Joel Osteen, is one of the greatest inspirers of all time. Or professional athletes have these great videos that talk about winning and success.
And that will change your attitude toward the day, where you could actually get up and actually do something to make more sales. Because I think very often sales, you have to be in a right mindset to be successful doing it in the first place. If you're having a bad day, that would not be my day to choose to drive sales. I would wait till that day passed and get in a better mood. But you're saying you go right to the table and say, hey, I'm not going to drive sales today.
I'll do things that will make me feel better. So it could be having a conversation with someone who I feel good every time I speak to them. It could be calling Barbara Corcoran.
I know, I get too many calls from you. I didn't know it was just a solution to your misery.
That's why stop telling me to only text you. Sometimes I need to talk to you.
I'm always telling you text me, because you email me and I never read those emails.
I might need you to cheer me up.
Well, that's different. I'll be there for you. Don't worry.
It
It took all this time to learn that about you. How much does your mindset or attitude influence your success?
Oh, huge. Because one is, I am the eternal optimist, as you know.
Absolutely.
I always believe things are going to work out. Things are going to go well. We're going to be successful. And then it's just having kind of a view, like I said before, is that if things don't go exactly right, God's in control. If you do the right thing will happen.
And then what about when they don't work out? It doesn't shake your faith in that at all? Because everything doesn't flip its other side and show you the shiny face. It doesn't happen all that well.
It's all your timeline. If your timeline is this week and it didn't work out this week, yeah, you'll be upset. But if you look at the timeline being 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, a lifetime, it's all going to work out. In the end, it all works out.
How do you teach, I'm sorry, this is off, but I just have to ask it, how do you teach your children excellent values when they have grown up with so much affluence? I've met them all. They seem like regular kids. It's remarkable to me that they're not spoiled rotten. How do you pull that off when they have so much wealth?
I think one is you set a good example. They see myself and they see Nita, my wife, both working very hard at what we do. So we're working hard, we're living reasonable. I don't have a fancy car, you know, we live in a nice home, but, you know, we don't live at the level we potentially could.
Yes, of course.
And so I think it's just setting a good example. And then we have a lot of very successful friends too. So compared to them, my kids feel normal. You know?
It's a question what they're, yeah, that makes sense.
If you want to look skinny, hang out with fat people.
I think on that note, I'm going to end it. The best line of the whole interview. Thanks, Andy.
All right, thank you.
Okay, pleasure. I got that laugh out, goddamn.
That's perfect.